Welcome to Sniffer Island. Your new dream vacation is only a bridge away. There's a lot to see and do here, but nothing beats staring at this welcome sign. This state-of-the-art storage room will not reach full capacity anytime soon. Enjoy a frolic through a field of fungi and roots. Get up close and personal with some sniffers themselves, and watch them do what they do best. It also has one very glorious, pristine beach. Sniffer Island. We hope you get a whiff of it soon. Welcome officially back to Evermoor. I'm going to backtrack now and show you how I built Sniffer Island through, of course, a time lapse. How I got the idea originally was it just popped in my head. That's really all there is to it. I had a sniffer egg and I needed somewhere to put it and a place to store the sniffers, so my first idea was an island. But to get started on this island first, I had to figure out where would be the ideal location for it. All I know is it's going to go somewhere off of the community island. My first thought was this one island that already exists off to one side. Unfortunately, with some recent chunk updates, now it has a giant landmass behind it, so it doesn't feel as islandy. So my other option is to go to the other side of the island and do something completely custom out in the open. There's much more room over here with all of this ocean. Just as I was in the middle of doing the initial outline of the island, the thought occurred to me, hey, I am building Sniffer Island. It should be in the shape of a sniffer. So I completely redid my outline several times until I got a decently shaped sniffer, one that wasn't so perfectly shaped that it didn't look like a natural island. And once I had the outline of the sniffer complete, then I could start filling it in with the landmass itself. For a custom island, this was on the smaller end. I was hoping to make it bigger, but it will still suit my needs. I only had one sniffer egg to start, so I wanted to place it as soon as possible while building this to allow more time to collect seeds throughout the process. I made a very basic farm, placed my egg, and waited for him to hatch. With the first resident in place, now I can finish building Sniffer Island. The first thing I really need to do is make it an official island by connecting all of the edges down to the ocean floor. At this point, I still had my little Alay helping me. Sometime after this, he did get lost though, and I haven't found him yet. He's out there somewhere, roaming the world. The entire island is meant to look like a sniffer. Even the trees need to resemble them, so I came up with this design that sort of uses the same colors as a sniffer. It wasn't exactly the original shape I pictured, but this was the one that worked out well when I was testing it in creative, so this bell-shaped like tree is the one that I went with. I built enough of them to create a little forest along the edges of the island. Again, if the island had been bigger, I would have liked a thicker forest, but with the size it is currently, this is all I was able to manage. In the midst of building all these trees, Time Architect stopped by and provided a second sniffer egg so we could then start breeding them. They're continuously working on sniffing out those seeds while I continuously build these trees. Next, I needed to build a collection room that was much nicer than a floating chest on water, so I built a sniffer-colored room with some sniffer flowers. As you know, even with only 2 chests, it won't reach full capacity anytime soon. Now all that's left to do is some additional landscaping. I thought the island looked too green everywhere, so I mixed in a lot of different types of dirt as well as a lot of different plant life. Of course, teals and reds to match the sniffer theme. I know the sniffer's back is technically green, but I went with the teal color scheme because it's a little different from ordinary green plants, which makes the atmosphere a little more unique. I know we've already technically seen the island twice now, but let's walk through it again. We gotta milk as much content out of this episode as we can. So we'll do a quick walkthrough of it with the shaders turned on. And it does look different seeing it up close and in first person, so let's do this. When you first enter spawn, you enter out of that portal, and there isn't any path that directly leads to Sniffer Island, but if you go in between these two houses and you reach the top of the hill, that's where the path starts and then the bridge that goes to Sniffer Island. I went with a bridge even though it is kind of awkward. It was just my first idea. There were some other ideas thrown out, like having a boat system going up to a dock, or giant lily pads you could go across, or different things like that. But no, I went with the bridge just because it was kind of a wacky idea, but it does look kind of cool at the same time. So let's cross this campfire bridge and make our way to Sniffer Island. You've seen all of this before, but it does look a little different up close. We got the welcome sign right over there with the island. It was a little off-center, so I had to kind of compensate for that by putting this sign in the top left corner. So yeah, that's why that's like that. And then straight ahead, across from the bridge, we have the storage room where the seeds collect, or I should say it's the collection room, not storage room, really. I could move my storage chest in here, but I haven't done that. Currently, the storage chest is up here by this plot of farmland. I currently have 1 stack of each flower. That plus what's here and what's in the chest below, that's all I've collected since building this. So quite a few hours of building, and that's all we have collected. There are currently 5 sniffers. I could always add more, but I don't know if I want to crowd them too much into this little space. If I really needed to expand though, I could extend it over into this area where these flowers are being planted. That's not a problem at all. It's so much fun to just come up here and watch them and listen to them. They make the weirdest noises and they stick their nose right into you. And most of the island really is just a bunch of plants and wildlife. Still took a little bit to collect all of these things and spread them everywhere, even though the island is fairly small. Not quite as big as I was hoping. And then of course we have the glorious pristine beach over here, and this is a landmark of Sniffer Island. This rock is called the Eye of Sniffer Island for a very good reason. It literally is the eye of it. And that's pretty much all there is to see here. Even though I didn't vote for them, I still enjoyed giving the Sniffers a wonderful place to call home. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry it's not the biggest, most impressive build ever, but I really enjoyed working on it. I sometimes like doing these little builds in between all the big ones. Actually, most of the builds I have lined up to work on in Evermoor are kind of little things. It would be nice to do more large-scale projects on this server, but for now I am content doing these little projects in between all the big ones, because I do have a lot of them to do. Apologies for the very short episode. It's very hard for me to fill these in, especially when most of the work is done in a time lapse, but I still hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!